The clips I used for this documentary is not a statement that they, the producers of such clips, are in agreement with my findings, as well as I am not in agreement with any of the views of the producers of such clips. I do not follow anyone.
No, even though it's case closed, they got their shooter, they still don't have a motive. How can someone in court be found guilty with no motive? Sure, there is this room of evidence where the shooter's dead body was found in, but is it really a case closed investigation? In the report, investigators remain frustrated by a lack of clues that would point to his motive. Now that professionals are going to dissect the proclaimed shooter's brain, see if they can find something. However, the professionals, the neurologists, had this to say. If a disease is found, experts say it would be false science to conclude it caused or perhaps even contributed to Paddock's actions, even if that explanation would ease the minds of the investigators and the world at large. And yet, this is all they've got. What if, and I know this may sound crazy to ponder on, all of this was a possible black ops on the Republic land of the United, a setup. The evidence was stacked to be found like a Where's Waldo picture with Waldo standing by himself. Look, there he is. Turn the page. Again! You know, these detectives closed the case that night. They left dinner in the oven. Hey, look, there is the dead body. Let's blame it on him. The guy, Paddock, left evidence everywhere. He dragged a stock load of guns into the hotel room, left more in his car, along with explosive material. But if that wasn't enough, he left more at his house. And yet the investigation had led to no justifiable reason for one man to have all these guns and explosives all over the place. Just to leave a, yeah, I didn't know, just in case all the guns and ammos and explosives didn't tip you off. Oh, by the way, the shooter even left his own body in the room as evidence. Look, for me, this just doesn't add up to what I witnessed. With the concert attendees' videos exposed to the world and all the recorded reports by the police that night, I can tell you 3 things. In the videos, you can hear multiple gunshots, past the echoes with different patterns. The pitch of the gun sounds plays into distance once the gun type is known. The higher the pitch of the type of gunshot, the closer the shooter. Also, volume as well indicates how close the shooter fired in relation to the video recorded. This is because higher pitches don't travel as far as lower ones. Also, there's a difference in the sound of gunfire and bullet spray. Bullets travel faster than sound. The impact of the bullet from the shot fired will indicate a spot on approximation of distance and shooter fired from the target with proper math applied. With all this known, it just adds up to there being multiple shooters. Next, the story at the hotel doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make much sense. Doesn't make any sense. The security guard, who happened to be checking an alarm, changed his story 3 times. The shooter fired 200 rounds down the hallway, one report, through the door, and hit the security guard. He got shot in the leg, survived, and told the police. The investigators changed their story 3 times on their own, rushing to conclusions. The final report is nothing like the actual gunshots witnessed by the concert goers videos captured. There was even a report of the security guard that sounded impossible. But there was a lag of response time from between the moment the shots began firing and the time the police got into the room the shooter was in, or supposedly. 73 minutes before the shooter's room was breached. Why did it take so long? The shooter got 20 guns, 12 rifles, 3 AR-15s, of which 2 with long-range scopes, and undisclosed amount of ammo, as if it's not clear what kind of rounds he had. However, the standard mag is 30 rounds. He carried it all by himself without no witnesses. Sure, the reports claimed he carried at least 10 cases to his room over 3 days. However, who said they witnessed this? When you see the elderly 67-year-old man who they claim pulled off the shooting alone, you would never think he would have the strength. He could have possibly paid people to carry the heavy cases up, yet no one has stepped forward to verify. So the shooter seems more like a patsy. Security guard that only witnessed there and at the hotel and the police report doesn't add up. And when you listen to all the videos recorded, you can hear multiple gunshots. If a conspiracy wasn't in effect, then why did the main media outlets such as YouTube, Facebook, and broadcasts ignore the idea that there is more than one shooter? In the case of the internet, shuffle down any video that went against the mainstream media story. Delayed and shunned were opposing storyline. How the mainstream tried to silence the conspirator theorists that same night. It just happened, and you already know the official story. A lot more went into that night. Even when the officials put out a press conference with local police chief, they still admitted a multiple shooter scenario is more logical. The Las Vegas police admitted to faltering with mistakes and changed their report 3 times. How can anyone that night, that week, this month have an official story? Yet when you watch and listen and observe the videos captured, you will conclude otherwise to the single shooter conspiracy by Las Vegas police and the FBI. Ignored and covered up is a black op operation. I know you're tired of government lies. I know you're tired of people dying and the government covering tragic events. Seek the truth. Don't allow your voice to be silenced. Question and look for credible evidence. Judge for yourself. Don't descend to authoritarianism, ever. We should and will question our reality as we experience it. Listen closely with intellect on the subject matter of gunfire from those who know, and then decide for yourself. The descend into authoritarianism, the silence of so-called fake news, the video called Proof Las Vegas Shooting Was a False Flag Attack, Shooter on the 4th Floor, had received 1.1 million views in 27 hours. YouTube removed the video that Wednesday. This was an open case where any information could have been useful. Also, why are we all of a sudden not allowed to question police reports with valid evidence, even suspect opinions based on interesting details? There is making up an entire campaign like Pizzagate, an alt-right crony lie that had political sabotage at its root core, versus an act of violence that actually happened and the people who witnessed the tragedy having questions against a government official story. On one hand, you have an all-out lie with slanderous results. On the other hand, you have a potential government cover-up against the people's will. I bet a closer look, everyone will start thinking differently. But what if I showed you credible evidence that goes against the official story? Would you still trust your government blindly like Facebook and YouTube, at least it seems, have become? I myself know better than to trust blindly any government because those things are made of people. The type of people in positions to gain large capital gain from corporations that won't hesitate to become wealthy. I'm not suggesting this is the case here. I'm suggesting that some elements of the FBI helped cover up a real shooter operation on October 1st, 2017, Las Vegas.
Now it sounds like it's coming from farther away. Something's going on. You know, for there being gunfire, sure doesn't seem like people are running. shit. Seriously, I don't know what's going on. Where are the cops at? I'm right here by the porch at Mandalay Bay, and everything just seems to be normal here.
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I just talked to the Metro Police over here at the airport. They said do not go to Mandalay Bay. There's multiple shots fired and they need lots of medical there. Do not go to Mandalay Bay. Stay away from there.
All right, I'm leaving. This is ridiculous. I don't know why people aren't leaving. This is insane. Everybody's just standing around. It doesn't seem like anybody's moving. It seems like it's coming.
What happened, Mandalay Bay driver? What happened? Full shots fired. They don't even know the details yet. I just talked to Metro over here at the airport. They're still getting the details, but there's multiple injuries.
You guys, there's shots fired.
That's all they're telling me. They're not telling me anything other than that. They just said stay away from there. They're shutting the whole place down.
All right, this is crazy. I don't know. It seems like it's coming from up there. Oh shit, Oh shit, All right, I'm out of here.
So just stay away from there.
Might be under control right now.
All right, all the all the taxi drivers are gone now. Jeez. Yep, there's...
The Tropicana. Could you guys clear that up and let us know where it's happening at?
All right, well, I was in the Mandalay Bay, and oh my God, now there's cops everywhere. It seems like it's coming from, like, the 10th floor of Mandalay Bay.
But let's look from another angle and see how many people could get the wrong impression that the official story is correct. From a quick clip, one might miss it. The mainstream media currently overlooked the amount of footage posted on YouTube. But before we can go further, it should be known that the science of sound is exact. Ask anyone making music about the nature of sound waves, and I bet they will all agree with these findings. Also, we humans identify our world through predictable sound. Dogs barks, birds tweets, babies cry. We could draw details in our mind and picture what object is making the noise. A sword clashing with another, a car crash, water pouring. We could even tell how the water flows by what it hits into a cup, rain on a window, spilling onto the floor. We can even hear the distance of the sound. Now, you can listen through the footage of all the concert goers. You will hear a different story from what the police and the FBI said occurred.
It's on the outside, I promise. It's on the outside, honey.
First, it is important to have an understanding of what guns sound like. More so, the sound of the gun the shooter, Paddock, was reported using in the official story. Now, there are testimonies of military personnel that are capable of identifying exact guns being fired by a signature sound that only that gun or gun type produces when fired. This is based on the rhythm of the gun's mechanism. These are the weapons, same as the demonstration I'm about to show you. Video guy who demonstrates the long rounds and the rhythm of the shots. He has issues with how long the rounds were going and the rhythm of the shots.
But you'll be able to hear both weapons being fired at a high rate of speed, and you can come up with your own conclusion. Now that you actually can see the weapon fired, know what gun it's being fired from, hear the sound. I have a P mag, AK-47 mag. I have the standard steel AK mag, and I also have a Pro mag. We'll see if we can run through that Pro mag without having any malfunctions. And then with the 5.56, I'll be running a series of both P mags and GI. When you're hearing the sound, is the rhythm. Right, the round. It's a smooth rhythm that the weapon is being fired. The 5.56 AR-15. Stipulation about this gun. This gun does have a Geisley trigger. All right, so it is an aftermarket trigger. Let's just shoot it. Let's see. All right, that was with a P-Mag. I got a double feed. All right, so it's not necessarily the rate of fire, right? It's the rhythm that the gun is being fired. When you're pulling the trigger, to have that constant, steady rhythm, it's almost impossible to do.
Notice the rate of fire may change, but the rhythm does not. He's gunning for speed, yet no matter the rhythm never changes.
We'll start with the steel mag. AK-47 open sights, targeted almost 300 meters. AK P-Mag. That was a P mag there. I'm gonna do a Pro mag now. Three magazines. Look how hot it's getting. Without gloves, even the handguard is hot to touch. You can see it smoking. All right. So the point isn't about how fast the gun is being fired. The point is the rhythm of fire. Now, keeping that rhythm up for over a 30-round magazine, some of those bursts in the video, they sounded real long. So one of two options, either a drum magazine that was super reliable, which I haven't ever found one. Maybe they're out there. I haven't ever seen a drum mag that was just really that freaking reliable, or a belt-fed weapon. My personal opinion, just me, I think it was a belt-fed weapon. I think it was a belt-fed 7.62 by 5.1, a 308.
Why? Because the mechanism of the gun never changes. Right? That makes sense. Again, notice how quick the bullets ran out. How can those long bursts heard in those videos be sustained with just one clip? Answer: to a long rapid-fire shot could be done with these weapons modified to be a belt-fed weapon or just a straight-out belt-fed weapon used. Listen again to the shots in the crowd.
Go! Everybody go! Go! Run! Keep your head down! Go! Keep your head down! Go! Run! Keep your head down!
Had to be a belt-fed weapon. Listen to how long the spurts of gunfires last. When compared to what you just heard, how fast a full clip empties when rapid fired.
Get inside!
That's the AR.
Listen to the rhythm of the shots. The rhythm change indicates a second shooter just entered. Listen to the sound of the shots. Two different shots being fired.
It's fireworks! It's fireworks! Stop! It's fireworks!
The faster a gun is fired, the faster a clip empties. 2. Notice the forceful kickback. You need 2 hands for these weapons. No way Paddock is firing 2 guns at a time.
All right, welcome to Forensic Acoustic Analysis of the Las Vegas shooting. My name's Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. I am, of course, the Lab Science Director of CWC Labs, as well as an avid long-range target shooter. And so I have kind of a unique position to bring you this analysis. Now, for those of you who are watching from law enforcement or the FBI, so this is Forensic Acoustic Analysis. This is all based on downloaded video files from YouTube, extracting acoustic information and then analyzing that to pull out signal from the noise. And this is what I do in my laboratory, CWC Labs, all the time. We use mass spec instrumentation. We're doing, isotopic spread ratio analysis. We're doing organic chemistry. We're doing ICP-MS, all kinds of analysis to pull signals out of noise. So this is the kind of thing I do every day. First of all, let's cover some basic math here. The speed of sound at 20% humidity in Las Vegas temperatures is about 345 meters per second. I'm going to use the metric system here for a lot of this for all the obvious reasons. The speed of a 55 grain .223 Remington round leaving the barrel rifle is approximately 975 meters per second initial velocity. Now, of course, those of us who are long-range shooters, we know that velocity drops off very, very quickly, according to a chart kind of like this. Velocity versus distance. So the farther the bullet flies, it loses velocity according to its ballistics coefficient, or BC, values. Now, this is important to note. This is gonna make a lot of sense. Just hang in there. Bullets arrive first on the scene. If you're standing at ground zero, the bullets arrive and hit the ground before the sound arrives of the bullets being fired from the rifles. Why is that important to understand? Because in our analysis of the audio files, and this is like an audio waveform right here, in our analysis we have to understand that the bullets are hitting first and then the rifle report is happening after that. This is crucial to understand. The bullets, remember, traveling at 975 meters per second. The speed of sound is only 345 meters per second. So the bullets are traveling about 3 times the speed of sound when they leave the rifle barrel. And at these distances that we're talking about, which is typically less than 600 yards, I'll use a non-metric unit for that, the bullets remain supersonic. So they don't pass the transonic barrier and become subsonic velocity. So they never get slower than the speed of sound. Now, flight time is very, very important to understand here. Bullet flight time is how long the bullet takes to arrive at a certain distance. Now, because of the velocity of the bullet is dropping, according to a quadratic equation, the flight time is not a linear function, so you have to have a ballistics chart. I got mine from gundata.org. So the flight time to 400 yards, or roughly 366 meters, is 0.528 seconds for a .223 55 grain round fired from a 16.5-inch barrel. Now, that's about half a second, right? 0.528 seconds. We can agree that's about half a second. Now let me ask you this question, a little homework for you. How long does it take the sound of the rifle shooting to travel that same distance, 366 meters? How long does that take? Well, you know here that the speed of sound is 345 meters per second. So you can instantly tell it's going to take more than 1 second for the sound of the rifle to arrive at the scene where the bullet actually struck the ground. In other words, the bullet strikes in half a second, but the sound arrives another half second later or thereabouts. So there's a gap. There's a difference between the time that the bullet strikes the ground versus the time that the report sound from the rifle reaches that same location. Again, see in blue here, bullets arrive first. I want you to listen to, I'm going to show you and play you some sounds here. So here's a combination of gunfire hitting the pavement. This is from the Las Vegas shooting. Here's the gunfire hitting the pavement, followed by the rifle reports from the distance. Here's what that sounds like. Now I'm going to play for you just the sound of rifle rounds hitting the pavement. I want you to notice the high frequency sounds in that sound. Here's what that sounds like. Now I want you to hear what it sounds like, the distant rifle reports arriving to your ear or to your recording device from a long ways away. Here's what that sounds like. Notice that it's a more low frequency sound. Now I'm going to play for you a sequence that is indicated by this, where you have a rifle round striking the pavement followed by the low frequency sound effects afterwards. So give this a listen and then I'll point out something to you about the timing. So did you hear that? Did you hear the rifle rounds hitting the pavement followed by the rifle reports from a distant location? That's very important to recognize, because what you can do is you can get the time code of those events. So you see this blue dot here? This is the time code of the last round of the rifle hitting the pavement. And then this is the time code of the last burst of the rifle report from the distance. The low frequency sound. So again, rifle hitting the pavement here, this time code, rifle report from the distance, this other time code. Notice that the rifle report time code comes after the rifle hitting the pavement, the bullets hitting the pavement time code. What you do is you subtract this time code from that time code and you get a gap. I'm calling it the lag time. This lag time might be expressed in a fraction of a second. It might be 0.3, 0.4, 0.5, what have you. What's important to understand is that this lag time, because of the laws of physics and the speed of sound and the ballistics coefficient velocity of the bullet itself, this lag time tells you the distance of the shooter from your present location. Now, I'm going to say that again because it's crucial to understanding all of this. The lag time tells you the range of your shooter. If you know the lag time and you know the bullets, the rounds that they're shooting, then you can actually calculate the distance of your shooter. So again, the lag time tells you the range. Now, why is that important? Here's why it's important. Because the forensic acoustic analysis of the audio file shows that there are two shooters, not just one. Two shooters. Two shooters, yes, two shooters. Shooter number one has a lag time in the audio file of about 0.559 seconds, which of course is consistent. Well, look at the chart, 0.559 seconds. Where does that show up on the chart? 0.559 is between 400 and 500 yards. See? Here it is. It's about 450 or 425 yards, what have you. What is that? Oh, that's the distance of Mandalay Bay, isn't it? So we know we have one shooter at a distance of 425 to 450, maybe 475 yards at the high end. That's consistent with a shooter at Mandalay Bay. Now, of course, we can't tell the height, what floor they're on from the acoustic analysis, but we can tell the range because of what I just showed you on the other side of this board. So we know, we have confirmation through this acoustic forensic analysis method that there is a shooter at 425 to 450 yards. But we also have another shooter that shows up in this acoustic analysis. This is the bombshell breaking news. Shooter number two appears throughout the audio files, and shooter number two has a lag time of 0.374 seconds. 0.374 is, on this chart, go back here, 0.374 is between here and here, so it's between 200 and 300 yards. So we have a second shooter at between 200 and 300 yards. That second shooter happens to be around 250 yards away from where these recordings are being recorded. Now, what's interesting is that this is intermixed in with shooter number one. So you hear some, if you look at the audio file and you do a very detailed forensic analysis, as I have done, shooter number one, their rounds are there, but shooter number two, their rounds are also there, mixed in. And this is based on the laws of physics, the speed of sound in air, and the ballistics of the actual cartridge that was fired. So we know that shooter number one in the Mandalay Bay, he doesn't have magical wizard powers. He can't make his bullets arrive more quickly to make them emulate 0.374 seconds, right? Would you agree with that, that Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old retired accountant, isn't Gandalf? Like, he doesn't have magical powers, right? I hope you agree with me on that. So that means these rounds have been fired by someone else. Take a look at this map. This is a top-down map. This is Mandalay Bay. This is the concert venue, and that's the epicenter right there, kind of ground zero. And this is the Luxor Hotel. This is the Roman Catholic Shrine, and so on. Now, this blue, I'm going to use these blue dots here, this margin, this dotted line sort of circumference here, this is a radius of 250 yards roughly away from ground zero. What it means is our second shooter has to be located in these blue dots in order for the laws of physics to hold true. And if you do that, you come up with three very interesting answers. Number one, the rooftop of the AM/PM convenience store on the north side of the venue. A shooter could be on that rooftop and could fire due south into the crowd. Second location, Oasis Apartments, the northwest corner building of Oasis Apartments, located on the southeast side of the venue. Third location, elevated dirt mound in the construction site located south of the concert venue with a very clear unobstructed view to the north from an elevated position. So the first question I have for the FBI is, have you gone around to these buildings and have you looked for brass and have you looked for evidence that shots were fired from those positions? And if not, why not? I mean, I'm just a civilian. I'm just a guy, a scientist. I put this together in about 3 hours using no taxpayer money on a Sunday afternoon just because I found it an intriguing little problem to solve. Why isn't the FBI using this to go look for the second shooter? Now, even better, the FBI can actually pinpoint the location of the second shooter using the following method. FBI can triangulate, and here's how they can do that. All they got to do, I'll use these, all they got to do is go out and find the location of every video that was shot, that was recorded, find those locations, map them on here, and then use the acoustic analysis, get the lag times, compare that to this chart to get the distances of the shooter, draw circles at that radius. On the map here, you draw multiple circles around each video that was taken, and then where those circles intersect, wherever they intersect like this, that's where your shooter is.
Eyewitness accounts of multiple shooters. Listen. The concert attendance. How many theys do you hear throughout? Listen to the first pair of witnesses adamant to multiple shooters. The female expresses how her senses experienced the shooting. They herded us. This presence was closing in on us. 3.
You don't know what to do.
They kept coming. That's the thing. It wasn't that, okay, let's all leave and now it's okay. No. We all started running and they came in. That's why there's no humanly possible way that guy, that was the only shooter. If you were where we were and how we were hidden and the way they came in and herded us all out into the staff parking lot and then continued shooting into the staff parking lot.
Listen to someone who had experienced the Fairground concert previously to the shooting night and could explain how things were changed to make the crowd easier targets.
As soon as we heard a little break in it, we knew we had to keep running. We heard the gunfires approaching where we were. They just started getting closer and closer and louder. And I knew we were getting gunshots that were closer to us than where they originally started. And that's when we knew we had to run. I do believe that there were people inside of the venue that once the initial shooting started, and everyone kind of panicked, running everything. Once the lights turned on the stage and kind of lit everything up, it was a lit target. Every other night at the concert, everybody kind of exited right off Las Vegas Boulevard. That was standard. That was routine. You get out of the concert and you go down and go into the next casino. Well, at 10 o'clock, they closed every exit on Las Vegas Boulevard, every single one. They gated them all closed with chain link fences. 10:08, the shooting started, and it was we were pigs sitting in a corral. We only had one exit to go out of, and I'm sure nobody was familiar with where we were going. Everyone was just running, kind of following the sheet is what we were doing. The same exits that we came in and left Friday and Saturday night were definitely closed. There were people that went over there and tried to leave, and there were cops that were telling them, no, you have to go the other way. You can't come out here. Go the other way, run the other way. There was just a lot of things that just kind of didn't sit right.
Previously to known spurts of gunfire, there were single shots fired for accurate hits. This was not reported in the police report. This was not reported in the mainstream media, which raises more questions to the rush timeline put together by the FBI and addressed to the local public through the local police department. Yet how could they complete the case before interviewing all these witnesses? voice report and listen to the details. This is how the concert goer felt.
Everyone looked up, down, around. We thought it was more firecrackers at first, but then Ricky reached over, told us all to put our boots on quickly, and the volley ended. Then people started to panic. The gentleman behind me looked at me as I was putting on my boots, half laying down, and said, "Calm down, crazy, it's just fireworks, geez." This is when the second volley went off. Ricky yelled at us all to get down, flat, and we immediately knew there was someone shooting at us. There was another person to my right who also wasn't moving. We ran. I don't know what direction we ran. I don't know toward which landmark we ran. We just ran. It was at this time our group got split up. Casey and I were together. Ricky, Casey, and Mindy were together. Soon after, according to her account, Sucamo started to panic when she realized 100% that there was more than one shooter and that multiple gunmen were in the crowd. We were rounding some sort of corner maybe, and I looked to the right and I saw this large cowboy standing down with his legs spread, holding a blood-soaked woman. I thought to myself, we need to hide. But as I looked quickly for somewhere to go, the gunfire once again got closer and closer. We couldn't hide because they, and I do mean they, were chasing us. That exact moment is when I started to really panic. That is the exact moment in which I thought, this was it, I'm gonna die.
Another concert goer expressing the feeling of a closing in presence, but notice she felt a shooting presence behind her, opposite the Mandalay Bay.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me, and just tell the viewers watching, what happened the night? Take us step by step. What happened when you were at this concert, Route 91?
Okay, well, I'll start from where I remember when the shots started. Everything started from me when I heard one single loud bang right behind me, and I was in the VIP suites, so was Anthony. Okay. And this is a single loud, huge bang right behind me, and I turn around and look, and I see that someone has fallen, and the group of people that were with this person is helping her up or trying to figure out what's going on, and I'm observing this as well, you know, and then maybe 40 seconds later, some shooting goes off on the crowd, and that's when it was like automatic gunfire, completely different from the first one.
It was a single shot. It was not automatic gunfire.
Single shot, which initially I thought like either it's a large firecracker that someone's doing some sort of prank, or this lady was drunk and dropped a glass, something. But I was trying to look because obviously it scared me. It was extremely loud bang.
You felt like the gunfire kept getting closer. You were running further away from the Mandalay. Tell people about that.
Yeah, so when I ran out from the VIP suites because that's where me and all my friends were, but I ran out and hid behind one of the trailers that are the VIP suites.
In the opposite direction of the Mandalay.
Yeah, and I had to jump over 2 different fences that are extremely high. Scratched myself from that, but I jumped over 2 different fences. I ended up jumping in some random guy's car who bust through another gate that I think ended up leading to the airport hangar. Okay. I ended up on an airport tarmac, if that's what you call it.
Right.
And we broke into the hangar. But the whole time I was running, people are still screaming, running, and it's as if someone's chasing you. I don't understand why people will keep running, and why would I keep running if the shots are still getting louder? It sounded like someone was chasing us, someone was on the ground. That's what doesn't make sense to me, and why I'm searching for answers is because I wouldn't keep running if I didn't think there was a threat coming.
I don't think she was chased. I think she ran closer to a second shooter, which sounded like a gun firing closing in on them. From the evidence of the forensic expert, they ran past 2 possible locations that the expert pointed out earlier.
The northwest corner building of Oasis Apartments, located on the southeast side of the venue.
Notice the similarities to the witnesses and the video footage.
They started shooting. Everybody thought it was like fireworks or something at first, and then people just started dropping around us, and everybody tried to stay down, and every time like a group would get up to try to run away, they just start shooting again, and it just kept going on and on.
We knew there was chaos and mayhem because people were running out of everywhere, and the police were really unaware of where the ground person was. They were going this way, that way. There's SWAT everywhere. We were tucked away, about 12 of us, in a little like a car park thing, and then it was like the SWAT came. They said, "Hands up! This way, we're unarmed. We were ushered out this way."
I was sitting out here on the sidewalk, and all of a sudden there was I thought fireworks, and then I saw a window come out and glass shatter everywhere, and then 2 or 3 more windows came out, and then an open machine gun fire out that direction. You could see the blinds from the window kind of shooting out.
Did you see him shoot anyone?
I didn't see a person, but they were shooting towards the concert area, and I don't know if they looked to be going higher than that, not down, but that probably was 200, 300 rounds, and interspersed in between while maybe reloading or something, there was interior gunfire too.
9. Notice how he says ground person. Why would you say that? Oh, the presence of closing in gunfire. Then reports the law enforcement showed up and didn't know which way to go because the shooting was not obvious to one location. They moved from spot to spot. The hotel witness saw multiple windows get smashed out from ground level. He could see the gun but not the shooter. However, he felt it was multiple people, as he referred to they and not to he, even though the news reporter said he, meaning either subconsciously or clear that it was multiple shooters. We didn't get a good location on where the window he saw the shooter fire. He didn't physically express looking way up. He heard gunfire into the hotel in between reloading. All that indicates multiple shooters or a team of people.
And everyone just got up and they said run, and everyone started stampeding and charging and knocking over grills, jumping over fences, getting out. We ran past Tropicana. We tried to run into MGM, and then everyone ran out of MGM saying there was shooting, and we tried to run this way and the same thing happened, and then we just hid in a bush for like an hour.
Running frantic witnesses goes away from Mandalay Bay and still reports gunfire at a different location. People reported a crazy woman shouting they were all going to die before the concert even started. She got this from listening to the police band, which brings me to the police report.
Well, I have listened to the police scanner from when it happened. You know, as they're moving in and they're trying to figure out what's going on, and over the course of this time on scanner, there are many times reported multiple shooters or shooters from different locations. So let's look at some of the transcript from this and what it tells us. Also, the woman who said you're all going to die, and I was saying, well, who is this woman? How come this hasn't been accounted for? Looking further into it, you can get some more information. I can confirm from other sources that she was running her hands through people's hair, that she was intoxicated, and she was kicked out with her boyfriend. She also was saying they're all around us. One of my viewers said this woman was also saying, I'm in a gang, my barrio is going to kill you. This I have not been able to confirm. I mean, obviously she was pretty much high out of her mind and aggressive, and she was thrown out. That's confirmed. They threw out someone who was intoxicated and disorderly. Could she have been an accomplice? I couldn't say if she was an accomplice, but maybe she knew something. Or maybe she was just a random person who was wasted.
Okay, so this is a review of so far what we've got, how far we've gotten in this investigation. Number 1, you heard the infamous cab driver video with witness to the sound of a second shooter fire from a different location afar, perhaps even a third shooter from a middle floor window. 2, now that you've identified the rhythm changes, you know at the very least a second shooter fired in unison with the longer bursts of gunfire. In other words, the shooters are timing their shots together to sound like one. 3, you've even heard what a gunfire sounds like from the type of weapons suspected to have been used in the shooting. Then we heard the shooting itself and find that it doesn't match. There is a change up in the rhythm of the shots fired, not possible by one gun being fired. The rounds are longer than any mag for bullets allowed. Belt-fed weapon seems more logical. 4, listen to the sound of the forensic expert give his evidence of a second shooter that actually matches the change up in the rhythm of the gunfire. Even possible locations where a second shooter was indicated. One of these locations matched the report from concert goers running in that direction towards the airport. 5, witnesses say different to single shooter. They say shooters. Now, if you think the people who just gave interviews sounded peculiar, listen to what the police were hearing. The police banner report. There will be a full edition on this section, however, this is a breakdown from the very first shot captured to the very last reported.
10 minutes of gunfire. However, it would take over an hour before the police were able to breach the shooter's room, during which the police band recorded the activities of the police on radio and the reports they made on the spot that tragic night. For the sake of running time, I will just make a few interesting reports on the police band. Let me remind you, only Las Vegas police are talking. All right, number 1 starts off with the report of an unknown suspect from an unknown location.
Units on that 415, the appears no longer on the phone with the sign. We don't have contact with him, right? So he could be somewhere in the parking lot at the Taco Bell or whatever road in between.
910 means we got shots fired 4:15 at the Route 291. Sounded like an automatic firearm.
Copy code red at 169 Sammy. They have shots fired.
Number 2. Cops are rattled, but one clearly testifies to witness a shooter from the middle of Mandalay Bay, indicating halfway up 2 times.
179 Sammy is coming from upstairs in the Mandalay Bay. Upstairs in Mandalay Bay, halfway up. I see the shots coming from Mandalay Bay. Halfway up.
3. Starting off with odd sights and reports of multiple shooters. Listen to the certainty in what they saw, as another cop indicates active shooter in the crowd, not distant fire, but in the crowd. He stated this with a very strong voice, assured by what he was witnessing.
We have an active shooter. We have an active shooter inside the fairgrounds.
Number 4. As cops rush to secure the scene, they converge to figure it all out. They state it sounds like it's coming from the intersection street between Mandalay Bay and the concert grounds. It sounded that close.
Guys, somebody in the CP, can you tell me where it's coming from?
We're headed from Mandalay Bay.
Somewhere at Mandalay Bay. It's at the intersection. It almost sounds like it's that close.
5. The very next report was shots fired at Gate 7 of the fairgrounds. Now, there is no Gate 7, but I believe the cop meant the highest numbered gate, which happens to be on the opposite side of the fairgrounds to Mandalay Bay.
Control, be advised, shots are coming from Gate 7. Gate 7, shots are coming from Gate 7.
6. As shots are fired, cops are identifying the shooting from different locations. Some are Mandalay Bay near Lexar Hotel.
We have a rifle deployed. We're in front of Mandalay Bay. We're trying to see where the shots are coming from.
It sounds like it's either Mandalay or Lexar. We cannot tell.
7. A few times different cops indicated the shots were deriving from the middle of the building, from a middle window, not top floor window at the end of the building. 8.
And it's coming from like the 50th or 60th floor, north of the Mandalay Bay. It's coming out a window. Control 7910. We're seeing local flashes in the middle of Mandalay Bay on the north side, kind of on the west tower, but towards the center of the casino, like one of the middle floors. So if you're there, that officer shot Mandalay Bay northbound, right outside Route 91 at the south end. M51, I see there's a flashing coming up from about a third of the way up, center tower, Mandalay Bay.
Now it seems there are multiple locations at the hotel indicating the 32nd floor now, yet still, there is a reported sight from the middle of the building. In total, 4 police eyewitnessed to the middle of building.
I'm inside the Mandalay Bay on the 31st floor. I can hear the automatic fire coming from one floor ahead, one floor above us.
Clear reports multiple injuries and multiple shooters, with possible 3 shooters.
Control, we need all units stop coming northbound on Las Vegas Boulevard because he's shooting this way. It's a horrible cover spot.
Okay, all units do not go northbound.
We're just north of Mandalay Bay Drive, east of the boulevard. We got about 40 to 50 people. We're pinned against this wall, right? We're taking gunfire. It's going right over our heads. There's debris coming over our heads. So we're pinned down here with a bunch of civilians.
Not just the 32nd floor, which is clearly towards the top corner of the wing. 11. The last reported witness from an officer's point of view said 15th floor facing east.
Hey, we can't worry about victims. We need to stop the shooter before we have more victims. Anybody have eyes on this shooter? About 15-4 on the Mandalay Bay, facing a whole lot.
Towards the concert venue. Now, there is over an hour past this point available for the public to hear. I listened and I heard a different story revealed. Now again, there will be an addendum with a full breakdown of the police ban. However, if there was only one shooter and the shooter committed suicide, why are there all these witnesses an hour after the body are shot dead? 1. First contact with the security guard Campos happened 18 minutes from the start of the shooting, 1 hour before law enforcement breached the room.
91 SC.
182 SC. We have a security officer also shot in the leg on the 32nd floor. He's standing by the elevator. 182 SC. We might need to split these channels. We're going to need a dedicated one for this 32nd floor, I think. He shot down the hallway and hit a security guard.
Copy. I'm going to see the stage. Boulevard Tropicana.
Control, Thermary 35. We're getting from civilians saying that there might have been 3 shooters.
Copy.
GC60, we've interviewed multiple people leaving the concert venue that is on the north side of Hacienda, east side of Las Vegas Boulevard, saying that there are multiple people that have been shot or were shooting in this concert venue. Channel, please.
Control 3942. I'm in the stairwell on the 32nd floor. Control 159 SE. I need the radio, please. I'm on the 32nd floor. The room is going to be 135. Break.
Two, vehicle rips out of the parking lot. Why?
About 3 minutes ago, a black dually unknown truck, looked like a Chevy, non-occupied, ripped out of the parking lot east of Excalibur, heading south to the Delano. It was reported by several people and witnessed by me. Keep an eye on it.
Copy. Units be advised about black dually possible Chevy was eastbound towards the Delano.
3. Older male goes into a motorhome wearing camouflage fatigue and carrying a big black bag.
Over by the Motel 6 by Tropicana, there's a white RV. I have pedestrians saying that the older white male in fatigues and a black bag went into the motorhome.
Control, can you repeat the radio traffic about the male going to the motorhome?
Confirm is an older male with fatigues and a
63. He's in over on Tropicana in Motel 6. The older white male with fatigues and a black bag. Pedestrians say he came from that area of the shooting. He went into the motorhome. Can I get additional units? We're over by the medical facility right now. There's a bunch of AMR units.
Patrol 863, there's one WMA in black fatigues in a white RV off of Cobalt and Tropicana, south up.
4. 4 suspicious suspects cited.
Control 863, we're going to put a shotgun facing the RV that the suspect is supposed to be in. It's going to be behind the Clark County Fire Department engine.
67 got easy. I need some units at Reno and Tropicana. We might have a possible. I'm out. Sure, I need more units. I'm out here by myself.
Need more units to Reno and Tropicana. We have a possible. Please be advised there's a subject on the helipad.
5, did you copy?
5. Minute silence on the radio, unusual for an hour of nonstop chatter. Funny it occurred after a suspect on helipad was said on the police ban. This is peculiar for the 5th suspected person. What happened to the previous 4? 6. Alright, when we come back from the silence, there are other reports going on, but unclear what the motives are of all the suspects from this point on. Or are they?
Near the sports book in Mandalay Bay, we had one male wearing a WMA, it looked like maroon or black shirt. He didn't listen to us.
Copy.
In toward the Delano if there's anybody in there.
Please be advised, a white male, maroon and black shirt just walked back into the Delano, not listening to 792 from the sports book.
Channel 051. SWAT's in place.
In reference to 415A at New York, they're advising the active shooters possibly coming down the escalator from New York to Excalibur.
Still on CTAX channel. Do we have a 415A at New York, New York?
It originally came in and say many subjects were down. There's one that came in at 23:06 hours, secondhand. It was there was a shooter at the front desk of New York, New York.
Can we talk to security there? Right outside the New York, New York.
And there's approximately 150 subjects sheltered in place inside the kitchen area there. And 2 shots were fired inside casino floor. And there's several subjects down at New York, Zoomanity, being taken towards the Parchman 6-3.
Why would there be all these reports if there was just one lone gunman?
Whoever is responding to New York, New York from the patrol side, I need somebody to get into the cameras to verify whether this is a diversion break. I have 3 Metro SWAT teams that are basically assembled. 2 are going up the tower. 1 is heading over to New York, New York, so we don't completely split our forces break.
Okay, now I'm getting information of an active shooter at Tropicana.
Has advised bomb squad to deal with the issue over there at Luxor, reference the 445 device. And I've got FBI SWAT, Henderson SWAT, and North Las Vegas SWAT en route to our staging area.
And just be advised now there's an active shooter at the Tropicana,
Patrol 363, be advised we're getting multiple calls of active shooters at multiple locations. May or may not be diversions, so officers are aware.
8. Multiple diversions. There are reports that were at least verified from police and witnesses that worked at the hotel to the sound of gunshots in the front of New York Hotel. Who is slowing the police down and leading them away from the nearby airport?
Paul David, I'm outside Tropicana. We're not hearing any 434s. This could be a diversion.
Do we have an update on the potential device at Luxor? Confirming that's the suspicious device.
Also, we have it locked down. We have everybody evacuated and cleared out.
Now we're getting shots.
Reported 19, if you can read my place.
Students be advised, now we're getting shots fired at Caesars and the Bellagio.
We got reports of a guy with a gun here.
705 Victor, what's your location?
We're at the terrace.
Copy, is a male with a 413 at the Paris. Subject with a 413 at Paris.
So many questions at this point. Where are all the answers to all the suspicious activities, all the suspects they've seen during the first 10-minute duration of the shooting and during the hour that follows? The only so-called witness is the security guard Campos. When you listen to the police band, you hear that it took 18 minutes from the beginning of the shooting and 9 minutes from the last shot fired before police see Campos. Why did Campos and the police come up with a different storyline from when he supposedly called the police? 18 minutes after the first shot fired, 9 minutes after the last shot fired, is when Campos was approached by the police on the radio, and they identify him as the first time they come across him. Well, if there's anybody who could clear these things up, interviewing Campos would be the priority to this investigation. Nope, not this guy. He got grilled not by a journalist or an investigator. No, he got grilled by slapstick comedian Ellen DeGeneres. She is a comedian, not a respected journalist or investigator.
Okay, so Jesus, you're the security officer, and you were called to check on a door that was, I guess when a door is left open for a certain amount of time, you're supposed to go check on it, right?
Yes, we got notifications making sure that to secure them, or if they were already been secured, just making that check on the doors.
Okay.
As Campos continues as he is explaining, he gets more nervous and hesitant, and right away, he skips over so much.
Okay, so you were going up the fire escape to get there?
Via the stairwell. I was coming from the 31st up to the 32nd.
Right.
When I approached the door, it didn't open, and it was blocked off, so I had to reroute.
Is that a normal thing, that the door at the fire escape, or the stairwell would be blocked off?
No, they're always supposed to remain open.
Right.
And so after I would drop down and then came back through the hallway, and then I approached the room, got into the door.
Now he gets the pity backslap because it was so emotional for him. Bullshit. Because remember, he didn't witness anything. He didn't witness the shooting. He was in a hotel hallway looking at walls. According to him, he didn't even see the shooter. He was shot at through the door. And he didn't care that he was shot in the leg because he never told anybody. He stood in a spot scared to get shot again, right? If he would have identified himself sooner, look, if he was in the crowd and saw the victims as it was happening around him, that would have been something. He was in a hallway. Hotel hallways are not scary. And if he didn't care to tell anyone that he was shot, where he was shot at, why all of a sudden the dramatics? Look, there are people who witnessed the shooting. There are some who got shot, and none of them cried or were nervous to talk about it. In fact, every witness was enthralled, ready to share, or at the very least, descriptive, with no hesitation. This fool right here can't even speak. Why is he so nervous underneath? And why is this so emotional for him? He didn't see anything.
There was a metal bracket holding the door in place.
Right. So what we're talking about here, just so everybody is clear, okay, so this is where the hotel room where the shooter was. This is the stairway, and this door here was blocked, and you didn't know that till you came up through the elevator and went through this door and saw that there was something blocking that door. And when you saw that, did you think, that's weird, why would somebody put brackets on a door?
Yeah, that's just out of the ordinary.
That was the beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, to make everybody clear with what Campos is struggling to explain, a not-so-accurate diagram of the hotel. Then Ellen DeGeneres as Campos' defense lawyer, interviewer. With her pointer, she walks Campos through the scripted story.
And then you walk out of this, and this just slammed?
Well, when I was in between that area, I was calling security dispatch to get transferred to engineering. They didn't know anything about it, so they dispatched an engineer to go verify what that was.
That's when you got called?
Yes.
Okay.
And at that time, I heard what I assumed it was drilling sounds, and I believed that they were in the area working somehow.
So
He said they were drilling. Gunshots and drilling do not sound the same. I have never walked by a construction site and yelled, "Duck!" No, it's okay, they're just drilling. Everybody in Las Vegas heard gunfire. This asshole is the closest person, and all he could hear or say he heard was drilling.
Thought the drilling, they were gunshots, but you thought it was just drilling sounds.
At first, I think it was just drilling sounds.
Right. So then at what point did you get shot? What happens here?
As that door's closing and it's so heavy, it'll slam. I'm walking down this way, and I believe that's what caught the shooter's attention. As I was walking down, I heard rapid fire, and at first I took cover. I felt a burning sensation. I went to go lift my pant leg up, and I saw the blood. That's when I called it in on my radio.
Remember, the police discovered the 32nd floor on their own.
I called it in on my radio that shots have been fired, and I was gonna say that I was hit, But I got on over my cell phone just to clear that radio traffic for they can coordinate the rest of the call.
Now the door slammed so hard the shooter over the shooting, heard it. Wait, this security guard walked away from a slamming exit door and was like, whatever, it happens. No, doors at hotels shouldn't be slamming so hard. That in of itself is a hazard for the guest. So anyway, this loud ass door got the attention of the shooter as he is shooting, walks over and guns through the door. Why not open the door and shoot a clear shot?
So he shot, you didn't even know, he shot through this door, right?
Yeah, from behind the door. I didn't know how he was shooting, but he shot out.
Right, so you didn't even know it was coming from here.
Here is Ellen. Again, she knows more of his own story, starts to lead her witness, the script she was fed. And when you hear her, she is trying to catch up with the script she is fed. Then she leads in Maintenance Steve and tells him what to say. This is what it is, right?
So it's Steven, at this point, so you're called up, you just think that you're coming to look at a door that's been blocked in the firewall, right?
Yeah, I didn't think anything out of the ordinary at the time. I came from a higher floor and came down a different hallway, service elevator, and I walked out and I rounded the corner for the 100 hallway. And that's when it was quiet at this time, and the doors are set back, as you can see in that, about a foot. And Jesus was towards the end of the hallway, but I didn't know at that time. I thought I saw someone pop out of the cubby, and I kept walking. And once I got more than halfway, is when I saw Jesus, and I started to hear shooting.
Who, for some reason, even though Campos just got off the radio with security, supposedly, Steve is still unaware. He gets to the floor and hears nothing.
And I thought, at the time I didn't know it was shooting, I thought it was a jackhammer. And, as an engineer, I'm like, we're not working up here this late at night. We wouldn't be doing that.
So he moseys along down the hallway on the 32nd floor where he hears jackhammering at night. Stupid. This is the maintenance guy? Then he is saved by Hero Campos. He heard it, he didn't hear it, he heard jackhammering. He hears, first of all, if Campos yells, duck, while there's jackhammering, why would you duck from jackhammering? That makes no sense. If you hear something that sounds like gunfire, someone yells duck, that's something, right? But it's so peculiar. Well, I don't know what happened there. It doesn't make much sense.
Right.
And it was, I believe, outside. It wasn't in the hallway yet.
Now here is where Ellen and Maintenance Steve mess up. If they are hearing the gunfire that is outside sounding like a jackhammer or a jackhammer somewhere floating outside on the 32nd floor, how can the shooter be shooting out the window and within milliseconds shoot down the hallway where Maintenance Steve almost gets hit with gunfire down the hallway?
And that's when Jesus, he leaned out and he said, take cover, take cover.
Ellen steps in to try and clear this up, but if the shooter is now shooting down the hallway, how come he didn't duck from obvious gunfire? Why did Campos have to tell him to duck?
Yelled at me, and within milliseconds, if he didn't say that, I would have got hit.
Because he was still shooting, so you would have been hit had he not told you.
Yeah, it wasn't even fully in cover, and they were passing behind my head, and I could feel the pressure.
Then he states the gunfire whisked by him from behind. He felt this presence, right? Remember this, for this part was rehearsed. Ellen cleans up, leads into the next line about a female who came out the door down the hallway. However, no one has ever seen this woman. Why isn't anyone else on the floor woken? Is there anyone else on the floor?
You could feel the pressure going past you, just even being out of the way.
Yes.
And were guests coming out of the doorways?
There was a female that came out, and I told her to go back inside. It wasn't safe.
Mm-hmm.
How did they know the woman wasn't the shooter, if neither saw the shooter or the woman?
Shortly after, that's when Steven was approaching, and I told him to stay back and get cover, and that's when more rounds were dispersed.
Campos is starting to sweat. He is leaning down from the weight of the experience. It's clear he is not feeling like a hero. Despite Ellen's best to sell it, she goes on to say the whole reason he's on the show is to be celebrated. All he did was hide and duck and shout at an unknown woman. Maintenance Steve's story remains unclear how he ducked or where. Was the gunshot fired before Campos said that? Or did Campos know before the gunfire and yell duck before the gunfire happened?
Go into the hallway. So I know, first of all, thank you so much for being here. And I know that you've had so many people asking for you to tell the story and to talk about this. And I understand your reluctance because you just want this to be over. So you're talking about it now, and then you're not going to talk about it again. And I don't blame you, because why relive this over and over again?
What is crazy is how Ellen then acts like Campos' agent and explains to the world on his behalf he is no longer taking interviews about this. He is a prime witness to 58 murders, and he wants everyone to leave him alone.
But it's helpful for people to understand what a hero you are, because you, being shot in the leg, saved so many people's lives.
But what is really surprising is that Campos breaks shedding tears when he sees the check in his name for the victims. Why would this bring tears unless he's feeling guilty? This is a good moment and he's about to cry. Those are not tears of rejoice. In this case, Campos looks to be brought down by guilt when he cries. Again, he witnessed no one die and he knew no one shot. He was alone in the hallway.
$25,000 in your name to the GoFundMe page that's dedicated to helping victims of the shooting.
Thank you.
For more information on how you can help the victims of Las Vegas shooting, go to
8-minute interview designed to sell a narrative and not ask a question. Treat a witness to a crime as a hero with rewards and a rehearsed scripted ending. The whole show was to sell a hero theme instead of a prime witness to 58 murders. Why does she, the interviewer, lead the narrative of Campos, the interviewee, words from beginning to end? No questions designed to ask real questions like why were there multiple police reports, why? The security guard Campos storyline doesn't add up. Not to the radio band report, not to the witness video concert goers recorded. When you go through Ellen DeGeneres' show, it shows a cover-up that possibly is involving MGM. MGM is connected to the owners of the show and the hotel. Why would Campos not want to be as helpful as possible in solving the problems with the final report, let alone trying to figure out who actually was doing the shooting? Why is this his last report, and why does he not want to say any more about it? To me, it sounds like someone told Campos what to say later on, after they found him, or he was in on it, some type of cover-up. Maybe he didn't know the full details and the scope of what was happening when he was brought in, but somewhere along the line he was told to lie. The patsy. Nothing about this guy makes sense. More likely, he got in over his head gambling with dangerous money. Listen to how his brother is clearly dumbfounded in his first recording. You know, he didn't need anything. He was good in life. And of course, he didn't really have much to say in the first time around.
He gambled at the casinos. He called his mother.
Edward, I know.
The fact that my brother did this is, there's nothing. I mean, there's absolutely no.
The number of guns, the firearms that he had, does that surprise you? I mean,
yes. I have no idea that he would have that many
Do you
firearms.
have a military background?
No. And I don't want to talk much more. This is all, once again, what I'm telling you is all part of the record. There's no, he has no police record. He doesn't even have parking tickets, probably.
How did?
Where the hell did he get automatic weapons? He has no military background or anything like that. I mean, when you find out about him, like I said, he's a guy who lived in a house in Mesquite and drove down and gambled in Las Vegas. If he'd have killed my kids, I couldn't be more dumbfounded. I mean, it doesn't.
So
there's nothing.
Last communication.
There's nothing.
Now, on the second return and final report to the media, the brother of the suspect, Stefan Paddock, went a 180, and now he knows and believes and states how his brother could have pulled off the shooting.
About, I guess, that he's, hopefully more being proved that, of course, Steve did this all by him. This is 100% Steve did this by himself. People can't seem to cope with that either, but Steve was a highly intelligent, highly successful person. He could have done anything he wanted to do, or something like that. But with Steve, it was like he'd spend, I'd get to partake of a bunch of thousands of dollars of comps on the hotel. But Steve would say, "Oh, can you go get me a sandwich?" Steve did anything he wanted to do whenever he wanted to do it. He was an independently wealthy, no ties attached guy. If he wanted to get on a plane and go to Japan and have sushi tomorrow, he did that.
He even mentioned how his brother could have paid hotel employees to carry the baggage up, carry the heavy weaponry up. However, no one ever came forward or admitted carrying heavy luggage. Nothing to verify how the 64-year-old, out-of-shape man could have carried all those bags himself. Who helped him? Why is his brother willing to believe his brother did it instead of reasonable doubt that his brother was set up or innocent? Why the 180 flip from dumbfounded to, of course my brother did it?
Described as being slovenly, not well kept. He was somewhat evasive in his answers. He was not combative. And this is not a guy that I would have looked at and thought he's going to commit a crime scene.
Under his arm is Lisa Crawford, who says she was a property manager in a building he owned in Mesquite, Texas, for 6 years.
He cared about everybody's finances. He cared about everybody's cars. He actually cared about people.
Including her. Those pictures show them palling around together with iconic Las Vegas hotels in the background.
We emailed, text. Neither one of us liked talking on the phone.
Crawford, who says she's spoken to police and the FBI about her friendship with Paddock, said he had a goofball sense of humor and was even generous to his tenants.
The person that I knew back then, they would have enjoyed living on one of his properties.
worked numerous government jobs: postal worker, IRS, auditor for defense contractors, Lockheed Martin. He also owned rental properties where he made his first millions. Yet through all these lifestyle changes, his style always remained reserved. It was reported that he trusted people and gave from his fortune to friends and family, yet was a recluse. He was likened to a college freshman style of living and was constantly on the move. He was spotted not sooner than 3 days before the shooting at Mandalay Bay Hotel. He had no religious or political affiliations, he just hung out places. Yet for some reason, his doctors gave him anti-anxiety medications called Diazepam. Let's work it backwards. The patsy, Paddock, couldn't fire 2 guns at one time, let alone be 2 locations at one time. The patsy, Stefan Paddock, doesn't have any reasonable motive. No reasonable motive. Nobody knows why. Everyone's just speculating. The only witness, Campos so far, right? Campos, Story, and Maintenance Steve. Campos is treated like a hero, but didn't save anybody. In fact, he waited to identify the shooter's location. He left no evidence that he actually made a call. How could they not tell the difference between drilling or any power tool with the sounds of gunshots? You have one maintenance guy who can't tell the difference. You got a security guard who can't tell the difference. That doesn't make much sense. Who was the lady that no one ever saw in public that they supposedly shouted at? And why aren't there any other reports of hotel guests on that floor? Why is Campos full of guilt at the end of the show? He saw nothing, and his storyline is very suspicious. However, I do want to point out 6 things right now. 1, 83 minutes to breach the room. 2, different time Campos was found on the recording. He was found 18 minutes after the first shot fired, 9 minutes after the last shot fired, and 1 hour before the cops breached.
Control. We just spoke with security at Mandalay Bay. They're saying they have shots fired on 29 and 32nd levels.
And we have a 4-man team up here, and we have another element coming to us. So we're going to have about 8 on the 32nd floor. We will need the 29th floor. It sounds like it's confirmed there are at least 2 shooters with fully automatic weapons.
3, so many decoys from different hotels are recorded.
There's a 410 vehicle going the wrong way, a white car that's going down Las Vegas Boulevard towards Mandalay Bay.
Control 674 GC. About 3 minutes ago, a black dually unknown truck, looked like a Chevy, non-occupied, ripped out of the parking lot east of Excalibur, heading south to the Delano. It was reported by several people and witnessed by me. Keep an eye on it.
Copy. Units be advised about black dually, possible Chevy, was eastbound towards the Delano.
4 suspicious individuals spotted multiple times. 1 in camouflage fatigues carrying a black bag into a motorhome.
Control Avery 63, over by the Motel 6 by Tropicana. There's a white RV. I have pedestrians saying that the older white male in fatigues and a black bag went into the motorhome.
Control, can you repeat the radio traffic about the male going to the motorhomes?
From is an older male with fatigues and a
63. He's in over on Tropicana in Motel 6. The older white male with fatigue and a black bag. Pedestrians say he came from that area of the shooting. He went into the motorhome. Can I get additional units? We're over by the medical facility right now. There's a bunch of AMR units.
Police, eyewitness, and others saw a shooter in a mid-window in the middle of the building. Police witnessed different shooters at different locations, either by sight or sound or by report. Now we have the concert eyewitness videos that tell a different story. 3 things on that. So much chaos for over an hour, not possible by a guy who committed suicide within 10 minutes. 2, witnesses felt gunshot fire from different directions as they were running, feeling like they were being followed. Brings me to 3, witnesses heard gunshots from different locations, and I believe one of them ran by one of the shooters towards the airport. Which brings me to the forensic science of the sound captured, identified a second shooter. 2 things. The timing of the bullets and the shots fired changed. Different distances are identified. 3, one of the locations that this discovered potentially could be, one of the witnesses earlier ran by and stated that she felt like she was being chased, but in actuality she was running closer to the shooter, which is why it got louder. Then there was the evidence of different style weaponry used than what was reported by the police. Longer rounds of shots allowed by the type of magazines and bullets allowed by normal gun enthusiasts. And 2, about this weapon fire, it was fast and steady rapid fire. And the last and finally, you heard it yourself. So this is all a cover-up. We are left wondering the reasons are not clear, no clearer than the official storyline for the conspiracy one shooter theory, which is just a conspiracy because there's no actual evidence, no actual motive. There's just a body found with the perfect setup. If all the evidence hasn't sufficed so far as a cover-up, I'll show you the police timeline report along with the multiple video witness timeline so that you can, once and for all, see it clearly that the police story doesn't add up, nor does the story of Campos' security guard. Campos' storyline doesn't add up. The report of his call doesn't match the timeline when the police made first contact with the wounded Campos. He walked up the stairs for some unknown reason why. Usually people go to the floor where their alarm goes off. Why ride the elevator to the floor below just to walk up a flight of stairs? When he gets there, he notices something is blocking the door from the other side. He goes back down the stairs to the 31st floor and walks across the floor at a normal pace down the hallway that is approximately 300 feet to the elevator, where he awaits the elevator. He gets in the elevator and rides it up to the 32nd floor and walks another 300 feet. He proceeds to enter the 32nd floor entrance to the stairwell, and he notices there is a metal bracket drilled into the door and holding the door shut. At the door, he radios maintenance for help about the door. This is where he hears drilling. Not gunshots, but drilling. No one gets the 2 confused, and this is a security guard. Unalarmed, Campos moseys back down the hallway. The door to the stairwell slams shut on some ghost haunting type activities, because if he exited a door and it is on a hydraulic pump, there is no way the door slams by itself. And if he didn't slam the door as he exited, then what ghost came up and slammed it? What hotel has doors that slam shut? This is a lawsuit in the making, and yet no one questions this logic. No. Now, this door slammed so hard it caught the attention of Paddock, the supposed shooter who was said to be firing out the window at the moment. How can he had heard the door slam over the gunfire? Even if it in between loading up, how could he had heard the door from the other side of the hotel room by an open window that he was shooting out of? It's a large suite, and he was able to hear a door slam in the hotel hallway across the hotel suite while standing next to an open window on the 32nd floor that he had just finished firing a loud gun next to his ear. He was able to hear the door slam, and then he ran to the hallway, ran to the door of the hotel and shot down the hallway. That's how the story goes. Now, the enraged Paddock with sonic ears runs over to the hotel door, and instead of opening the door for a clear shot, he fires through the door aimlessly. He fires through the door aimlessly. Paddock was thought to have had a camera on a food cart looking down the hallway, yet Paddock didn't use the camera for a direct shot. He just aimlessly fired through the door. He didn't open it, he didn't use his camera. He didn't open it, he didn't use his camera, he fired through the door aimlessly. After hearing a door slam with supersonic hearing. Remember what Campos claimed, rapid fire down the hallway. The police rapid fire down the hallway, 200 rounds down the hallway where he was walking, yet only got shot in the leg. What was Paddock doing? Firing at the ceiling rooftop? Bouncing bullets off the wall? How could someone with an automatic rifle fire down a confined hallway and not hit the person walking the confined hallway multiple times? He was said had fired 200 rounds down the hallway and he couldn't hit Campos. While 200 rounds of fire go down the hallway, Campos, ducking like the superhero he is, he avoided the rapid-fire gunshot. He gets to a hotel room entrance and takes cover. Now here is where he claimed he called security about shots fired on this floor, yet the storyline doesn't add up.
182 SC. We have a security officer also shot in the leg on this 32nd floor. He's standing by the elevator.
Now, Maintenance Steve arrives from the service elevator, which is next to the rest of the elevators, the opposite side of the hallway from the suspect's shooter room. Didn't Maintenance Steve see any bullet holes? 200 rounds fired down the hallway and there was no bullet holes? Remember, from Campos' rapid fire where he had got shot, why wasn't the hallway shot up? Wouldn't the Maintenance Steve notice bullet holes? Second question, Maintenance Steve is facing the door of the shooter as he's walking down the hallway, so how could he be shot at from behind? Remember, he stated earlier on the show, he felt a presence from behind. A bullet whisked from behind him.
Yeah, it wasn't even fully in cover, and they were passing behind my head, and I could feel...
You could feel the pressure going past you.
Who's shooting from behind him if he's facing if he's walking towards and facing the shooter's door? Was there a second shooter? Perhaps this is a lie. Then there is the unknown woman who came out of her hotel room. Question, did the woman hear gunshots and walk out the door and shout out loud? Look, if Steve heard gunshots, how is Campos warning him? If Steve thought it was drilling, why would he duck even if someone told him to duck? And at what point did he get away before or after the gunshot started at him when Campos shouted at him? And so what we have here is no evidence on the internet of bullet holes down the hallway. We have no evidence on the internet of the woman on that floor. We have no evidence on the internet of there being any more guests on that floor at all, you know? So all the while, no one else is on the floor or all of them were sleeping through all the commotion while 200 rounds were fired down the hallway and people are shouting, duck. No one heard anything. No one else was on the floor. What's going on here? Why are there not pictures of the hotel shot up? The final report from law enforcement doesn't add up to what the witnesses recaptured on the videos. How is it that the story of what happened is so clear yet so full of holes? How could this not be seen as a cover-up when the official story leaves so many questions? The 3 different police accounts and the final story doesn't match the video footage from that night. The cops admits it was more likely a team of shooters. What changed his mind?
Any evidence that he planned to survive this or try to escape?
Yes.
Are there any other persons of interest in this investigation?
Look at the weapon obtaining, the different amounts of tannerite available. Do you think this was all accomplished on his own? Self-value, face value. You got to make the assumption that he had to have some help at some point.
A single shot fired 40 seconds before any timeline begins, not in the final report. The final report states that when Campos was shot in the hallway, but the video and the previous timeline indicate there was gunfire at the crowd, 8 9-second bursts at this moment. C. 36 seconds later, a second round of gunfires goes off for another 10 seconds, not mentioned in any report.
Fuck!
D. 14 seconds later, third round not mentioned in report goes off for 11 seconds. E. 19 seconds later, fourth round of gunfire not mentioned in report goes off at about for around 9 seconds. F. Close to 2 minutes pass before second wave of attack begins, not mentioned in any report. 1 second burst shot followed. 1 second later by another. 1 second burst, not in any report.
That is a real gun. Yes, it is.
I. 1 minute later, 10:09, an unknown source of gunfire could be heard either far in the distance or inside the hotel, not in any report.
No, we're not moving. We are not moving. Because we'll get shot. Now it sounds like it's coming from farther away.
J. 22 seconds later, shots fired out and near hotel for a little over 2 seconds. K. 2 second pause, and then at 10:10 p.m., over 10 seconds of multiple gunshots are heard, not in any report. L. A little over 20 seconds later, another round of gunfire goes off for 11 seconds, not in any report.
No, something's going on.
M. 10:11 p.m. About a minute later, another round of gunfire for about 11 seconds. And 14 seconds later, gunshots for another short burst.
Seriously, I don't know what's going on.
O. Quick pause, then longer 7-second round of gunfire.
Seems to be normal here.
P. Then immediately gunfire continues for another 3 seconds. These last three occurred in about 11 seconds altogether.
Do not go to Mandalay Bay. There's multiple shots fired and they need lots of medical there. Do not go to Mandalay Bay. Stay away from there.
Q. 45 seconds later, now 10:12 p.m., gunshots fired for about 10-second round. The cop identifies for the first time where the shooter was on the 32nd floor. Perhaps the previous shot round, as the cop band is informing everyone on Mandalay as the gunshots are going off. On all the reports, however, the final report removed police are aware of shooter location. Why? R. A minute later and 9 seconds pass, the gunshots continue at 10:13 p.m. Not reported.
Oh shit.
S. 3-second gunshot, 3-second pause, then again multiple gunshots for 7 seconds, not on report. T. 12 seconds later at 10:14 p.m. single shot from hotel for 6 seconds, not on report. 27 seconds later, report of shots fired at Tropicana Hotel not reported.
Yeah, there's the Tropicana. Could you guys clear that up and let us know where it's happening at?
V final report claims 19 times the gun fired started and stopped after a few single shots were fired, all of which is not reported. You heard it with your own ears how the timeline doesn't add up. 1 minute, 52 seconds, you can see hotel and no muzzle flash. Five minutes, 33 seconds, there is no bullet to pavement sound. There is low, further traveling sounds of shots fired. Notice there are two different start times and that the second is not an identical trailing sound. Notice the sharp sound returns in the middle and fades away while the lower waves of shot fired continues.
Something's going on.
6 minutes and 8 seconds in. Now listen how you can tell it's one shooter compared to the rest before. You can hear it on the rhythm of the shots fired.
Seriously, I don't know what's going on.
People gotta know the truth about the second shooter and the cover-up. Perhaps, and more likely, there was a black op operation working in conjunction with elements of the FBI. People who were injured and those family members of the fallen deserve more than a rushed investigation. This was by far nowhere near a clear-cut closed case. This investigation failed to account for another clear possibility, the setup, the patsy, and a cover-up of a black ops operation. The victim families deserve true justice. We the people deserve true justice. This official story is falsified when compared to the actual videos and the testimonial accounts. The lives lost shouldn't be blamed on a patsy. There is no reason to deny evidence and the witnesses. There is the rights of the Republic. Our lives are threatened by an unknown element with military capabilities. There is no clear evidence to who pulled off the Black Ops operation. There is no clear evidence of the single shooter conspiracy, and the official story doesn't add up. This is being promoted, the one shooter conspiracy. That wasn't accurate and is full of holes. There is a supposed killer with no clear evidence he did the shooting to what happened. There is clear evidence of a second shooter law enforcement is ignoring. There is a lone gunman narrative being pushed out there by MGM, the FBI, and local law enforcement. Other than what seems to be a setup. No motives for the shooting, no way to explain how the shooter, after committing suicide, caused the police to respond to suspicious activities and individual sightings of suspicious people. Our country shouldn't have corrupt law enforcement. How is this not a cover-up? The house of the patsy, Steve Paddock, was broken into the night before, and this was reported to the police and was called from the neighbors. No one saw Paddock carry large cases that many weapons and ammunition and tools would have been in. In fact, no one saw Paddock at the hotel no less than 3 days before the shooting. The evidence of a second shooter along with the video evidence at the time of the shooting tells a different story than what the police are trying to say happened. A story of multiple shooters were present. If questions raised are silenced, then we are experiencing a tyrannical law and a corrupt investigation. Evidence of a black ops, as in multiple shooters with an escape crew that created distractions, was clearly in effect. Why would such a massive shooting be rushed to conclusions? Why is there evidence excluded and ignored? One reason might be all of this was done to take away the gun rights of the people. Because I feel like this was planned out before Trump became president, kind of like everyone thought Hillary Clinton was going to be president. And so they paid and bought for this Black Ops operation, and because of that, they executed the game plan despite the fact that Hillary Clinton didn't become president. Because I believe if she did become president, she would have been using this to push her whole presidency in the direction of taking away the guns from the people. I believe the whole point is to put fear into the American statesmen and to make them feel like they have to give up their guns and give up their weaponry. So while increasing military action within our policing of the people, is how you create a fascist militant state. And that's what I believe this was all about. Other than that, maybe it was about, you know, when every time they try to take away gun rights, the stock of guns goes up. But I really believe it's more about taking the rights of the people away. And the stock value of guns goes up, and because the selling of guns. With these final words, I rest my case. Perhaps in the end, it is found that the drug, diazepam, affected his thoughts and motivation. Even still, if that was the case, it wouldn't explain the second shooter, nor the hour of distractions, and all those spotted suspected people. No matter still, if the case is known without a doubt, then a suspect cannot be found guilty of a crime. Without a doubt, then the suspect cannot be found guilty